Hello. So in the previous video, we talked about just an overview of what this channel is going to be about. And in this video, I just want to take you back a little bit and help you to understand where you can start. So first of all, we're going to breathe in and breathe out, and we're going to start this journey together. So at this point, I'm assuming I'm talking to people who have either finished their bachelor's degrees and are working and are looking for opportunities to advance their studies in the UK, for example, or in any other country that has scholarship opportunities and good graduate levels courses, or people who finished their master's degree and are looking to advance their studies into the PhD level. Or the third option, which is those who finish their bachelor's degree and would like to skip the entire master's degree level and go straight into the PhD study. This is for you. So I want to talk about where to start if you're at this point and you're just trying to figure out, okay, so what do I need to do first? All right. So number one, the first thing you need to do if you haven't done this already is get a passport. So at this point, I always tell everyone that I meet that you never know when an opportunity to travel abroad for a scholarship can come through. So it's always important that when you have the opportunity to apply for a passport, that is when you turn 18 or when you at least finish your bachelor's degree, you should apply for a passport. Yes? So make arrangements, make the plans, and apply for a passport as soon as you can. I know in Kenya we've had in the past situations where passports have delayed a lot and people have lost opportunities because of this. So if you have the time and you haven't started making your applications, get a passport right now. Okay? So that is the first step. So what happens once you have a passport? All right. So once you have a passport, or once you've applied and you're waiting for your application to go through, then the next thing you need to do is to identify a relevant master's or PhD level program that you'd like to pursue. This is very important because this kind of sets the tone for your educational pathway that eventually leads to the kind of career that you'll have. So for example, if you're someone like me and you did a bachelor's degree in a biological science, then it would make sense for you to apply to a master's course that is relevant to your degree. It doesn't necessarily need to be in a biological science that is laboratory based. You can diversify, or you can choose a different field altogether, but one that is still related to what you did at your undergraduate level. So for example, if you did nursing, you could go on to do a master's in nursing, or shift a bit and do a master's in public health or a master's in epidemiology. And also, if you're like me and you did a master's in biochemistry and you don't want to do anything lab-based for your master's, you could change your path a little bit and do a master's in biostatistics or bioinformatics, for example, and then take on a kind of different route. But at the same time, you could still stick to your field and do a bachelor's in biochemistry and a master's in biochemistry. So it's really up to you, but you have to identify the path you want to take. Do you, for example, want to remain in the laboratory setting, or do you kind of want to go into more fieldwork oriented work, so work that takes you out into the field, doing a bit of epidemiology, quantitative and qualitative analysis, things like that? So decide at that point. So once you have a degree program in mind, something you'd like to pursue for your master's, or if you have a master's, something you'd like to pursue for your PhD, then now you have that inside and you can move to the next step. So the next step after identifying your course is to put your documents together. And before you put your documents together, you have to go to the website for that particular course and check the requirements. So of course, this involves, first of all, narrowing down the universities that offer that particular course. So once you have a list of some of the universities you're considering, then you can check if they offer that particular course. For example, if you're planning to do a master's in biochemistry or a master's in biomedical sciences, you can check out some universities that offer this course and then look at the list of their requirements. At this point, I would always suggest to the students that I mentor that it's always a good idea to target the top universities. And why do I say this? I say this because top universities are usually very well funded, and most of them have a lot of scholarship opportunities to offer. And if this is what you're looking for, you're not looking for a self-funded program, you're looking for a scholarship, either full or partial, I would always suggest targeting the top universities. So anything ranking within the top 50 is a good choice. So I would start there for you. But sometimes a university might not rank in the top 50, but still offer very unique and good opportunities for you. So just, it's a matter of balancing and figuring out where the opportunity is and applying for it. So once you've identified the university and you've narrowed down the requirements, then you need to start compiling your documents. There's always a set standard or a set number of documents that are usually required regardless of the university that you applied to. And the first one is usually the personal statement. This one you have to start working on very early. So when you're compiling your list of documents, the first thing you need to work on is your personal statement. I'm going to have a video where I'm going to dive in depth into what a personal statement is and what you need to include in order to make it really good. So you need to draft a personal statement, and a personal statement usually has essentially 5 parts. And the first part is talking about your educational background and work experience. Then you move on to talk about what you've done in the past in terms of any research activity or relevant work experience that demonstrate your skills. Then the third paragraph could talk about what are some of the research interests that you have. What do you want to do during your master's degree study or your PhD study? Then you talk about also your short-term goals. What are your short-term goals after that degree program? And what are your long-term goals as well? And also, most universities will ask you to talk about why you chose that particular program in that particular university. So you need to check what are the advantages of that program, what are the benefits of studying at that university, and bring that out in your personal statements. Those are the main things that need to go into the personal statement. Another set of documents that you need to prepare that people always forget is the recommendation letters. The recommendation letters. I'll emphasize on this because you shouldn't leave this to your referees. Okay? And I say this because there are referees out there who will take the time and write a rigorous reference letter for you. But most of the time, some of our referees are usually very busy. They're very busy people, and most will be academics, and they have a lot of work and a lot on their plates. So they will not have time to really dive into what makes you unique and bring that out in your reference letter. So what you need to do is to work with your referees. And what I always suggest to the students I mentor is that you need to draft a reference letter. Draft a reference letter, then send it to your referee and tell them, I have drafted this letter in order to be able to support you in the process of giving your recommendation for me. So this makes their work easier because then they have a draft or what they need to talk about, because you know yourself better than your referee knows you. So with that draft, they're able to read through it and edit as necessary, put the school letterhead and sign it at the bottom and stamp it if necessary. And then now you have a complete reference that really captures your unique features that can enable the admissions and scholarship panel to adequately judge your suitability as a student and a scholarship recipient. So work with the referees, and in doing this, you have to make sure if 3 referees are required, for example, that each letter is kind of different. So if you're going to draft 3 letters, they shouldn't be identical. Otherwise, the panel will immediately know one person wrote this. So you need to kind of speak about yourself, but vary the letters a bit so that it sounds unique for every single referee that you have. Okay, so once you've compiled your reference letters and you have your personal statement ready, another thing is usually to just start the application. So most of the universities in the UK will have online application systems. So you need to register using a personal email, register using your email. You'll have an account, just start the application. So most of the university set up, and then probably they'll have steps that you need to follow. So maybe step 1, gathering your personal information, then your educational background, work experience, a page to upload your CV and your personal statement and your recommendation letter. So that's the third document that I've not talked about, your CV. This is very important. I cannot emphasize this enough. So your CV, you need to work on this. The same way you work on your personal statements and your recommendation letter, your CV is an integral part of your application. So you need to make sure that you're using a format that is very good, and I'll cover this in depth in a future video. A format that is good, that displays all your credentials together, and please don't make it very long. Anything more than 3 pages is just too long. 2 pages is usually adequate, so just keep it under 3 pages. That should be good. So you've had your CV, your personal statement, and your reference letter you've uploaded this. So most of the time this will be sufficient to really apply for a master's degree study. But for a PhD, you might have to go a notch higher and maybe prepare a research proposal. A PhD is slightly different. So I'll have a different segment where I'll just cover PhD applications in depth. But those are the ones I've talked about, are the main documents that you need to prepare. So once you have this ready and you've submitted your application, usually your referees will then be asked to upload their reference letters in separate emails, or in rare cases, you'll be told to collect the recommendation letters yourself and upload them into the system. But this is in rare cases. In most cases, they'll ask for your referee's email address as well as their contact details, and then they'll email them separately after you've submitted your application, so that they can submit their letters directly to the school or to the scholarship panel. Every single school is a bit different. Every single scholarship panel is a bit different. Some panels can ask you some extra essay questions, and you need to be prepared for that, because if the scholarship is a school-based scholarship and it's the university administering the scholarship, then most of the time you can apply for admission at the same time as the scholarship. But if you're applying for an external scholarship, maybe something like the Commonwealth Scholarship, the Chevening Scholarship, that is not linked to any university, then that means you'll usually have to submit your application for admission separately, and then go on to submit your scholarship application at a different time. So this usually varies. So it just depends on the requirements for the particular program that you're applying to. But this is a good starting point. All right, so in the future videos, we'll talk about the other requirements, things that you need to adhere to when you're writing personal statements, when you're writing recommendation letters and CVs, and also the extra documents that you need to upload or you need to prepare when you're drafting a PhD application. All right.